Mother, man.
Spreading faster than a case of the clap in a trailer court. Able to shatter eardrums within a 666-mile radius. A podcast more brutal than all the rest. It's Murder Metal Mayhem!
Who's going to become a serial killer before that first sexual murder already has a fantasy scene in his mind. It has its origins in things that really happened to him, things he imagined happened to him. They often make mistakes in the early offenses that they learn from and try to ensure they don't make in later offenses. They often choose more vulnerable victims for the early offenses, such as younger people or people who are physically frail, whereas later they become intelligent and take on more power than people. And so there are some patterns about how the times progress over time. What is always the case for sexual surveillance you know what the gore is, right?
Alright, man. We're gonna fucking get this shit going. So, what's up, Vaughn?
What's up?
How you doing?
Not too bad.
I'm here with fucking Vaughn Young of fucking Lividity, prior Deaden, Colossus, other bands. So, it's fucking awesome to have you here.
Thank you.
Staple of the Midwest grind scene, if you will. So, doing this little interview for Murder Metal Mayhem. I appreciate you coming out. 10 questions, I'll shoot them at you. Fucking bullshit.
Sounds good.
Fucking see what we got to say. So, I'm gonna start it off with one of the most generic questions of all time, but it's a good one. How did you get into metal, and how did you gravitate to a more extreme style of metal?
So, I feel like in the 80s, you didn't have as many different genres of music out there. I mean, you had the 80s music, and you had, some rap stuff starting up, which I wasn't into. I gravitated more towards bands like Twisted Sister. I mean, it was the MTV generation. You had videos, so I was constantly seeing like Twisted Sister and Rat and stuff like that. Well, I have two half brothers, and they lived in Texas, and they would come up to stay with us in the summers. My oldest brother was big into metal, and he's about 7 years older than me. And my middle brother, he was 5 years older. He was more into like the punk and hardcore scene.
Yeah.
So he was listening to stuff like Black Flag and JFA and stuff like that.
So you had both elements coming.
Yes, exactly. So from him, I heard Stormtroopers of Death, and I was sold. But what really did it was I was about 9 years old when my oldest brother put some headphones on me, and Whiplash was playing by Metallica off Kill 'Em All, and I was done.
Yeah.
And it was like I was at 9 years old. I was sold. So it was just this constant. Once I get, and being where we lived, I mean, you couldn't even find it. Like nobody knew what Metallica was at this point. Master of Puppets was out, but nobody had it in the stores around Champaign.
Yeah,
we're from, right? So it was probably a steady year of trying to find Metallica stuff in the stores. I finally found a Whiplash cassette, which was like the first half of Kill 'Em All.
Yeah.
And it was blank on the other side. I've still got it.
That's crazy.
It was the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't care because it was what I was looking for.
Yeah.
So.
And you bought that in an actual store?
Yeah, it was in. It wasn't Camelot. We had Camelot and another store, Musicland.
Oh, Musicland. Yeah.
So they had it, and that was the only thing they had. And then after about another year of having that, they started to slowly get stuff in, and I would just grab it all.
Hell yeah.
But I mean, I was listening to Iron Maiden, I was listening to Metallica, I was starting to get into Megadeth, stuff like that. So, and then it was just the more I got into it, my oldest brother I would just raid his cassette collection, and he listened to everything from Depeche Mode to Slayer. So I had everything at my beck and call.
Yeah.
I grabbed Slayer and I'd be like, holy shit. I mean, honestly, Halloween scared the shit out of me at 9 years old, right? I was like, what the fuck? So that one took me a minute to get into, but after, about 11 or 12, I think it was when So Far So Good So What came out. I picked up that. I ended up picking up, we were in St. Louis, I still remember it. I ended up picking up Sodom Persecution Mania. And that was it.
Yeah.
It was like that was my stepping block into faster, heavier, and I was like, oh my god, this is. And it's like there's a whole other world out there. Right. And it just keeps on going. So I just kept looking for it, and eventually you find bands like Napalm Death, and you find just heavier things. And once you start getting into those things, and start paying attention to magazines, and you're looking at back in those days, you had the inlay cards, and you saw what bands that they were thinking.
Exactly, yep.
So you started looking into those bands. You're like, oh shit, okay, I don't know what Suffocation is, but I'm about to find out.
Right.
So,
yeah.
And that's basically how it is. It's just like a big ball and snowball just keeps going.
I remember being a fucking kid, and Metallica was one of my favorite bands as a young kid, of course.
Yeah.
And I remember I kept seeing them. They would have Faith No More on all their thanks lists, and then I saw a picture. I think. Kirk came out of Faith No More shirt or something, and I was like, man, I gotta check that band out. Now they're one of my favorite bands.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that's the way to do it.
That's exactly how it was, man.
All right, man. So obviously you played a fucking shitload of concerts. I've fucking gotten to share the stage with you a couple times, which is awesome.
Yep, been pretty lucky.
What were a few memorable concerts you saw growing up, and that you knew was something that you ended up wanting to do to be on the stage yourself?
So I didn't really get to see a whole lot. We were like I said, being in Champaign, there wasn't a whole lot out there. It wasn't like being in Chicago. I had buddies that they drove to Chicago damn near every weekend to go see shows. My parents were strict as fuck. They weren't allowing that, right? So I think at 14, me and my buddy Ari Roberts, if you knew him from Desecration, and then Matt Zielinski, we all went to see Anthrax and Iron Maiden. And that was the first concert I saw at like 14.
Yeah.
That was down in St. Louis. But I didn't really get to see. I saw King Horse after that, probably 6 months after that, at an all-ladies show at the Blind Pig down in Champaign. There really wasn't much. I think I saw Metallica finally after I graduated high school, like 17, 18. Me and my buddy Josh drove up to Chicago and saw him. So there wasn't really a whole lot of shows that I saw until I started playing them.
Yeah.
And then once I started playing them, it was like, okay, I'd go to more, and you had Milwaukee Metal Fest. That was like the mecca, right? It was like I'd go to this record store called Periscope, and they would have these flyers from Milwaukee Metal Fest, and you're just like, holy shit. But there was no way until I moved out of my parents' house that I was going to go to those.
Yeah.
So that's just how it was. Once I was finally free, there was no stopping it.
Back at like $20 for a ticket to Milwaukee Metal Fest.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
See bands like Cannibal Corpse and 11th Creation and shit.
Yep. Absolutely. I will say the one thing that really, I don't know that there was any specific thing that made me want to pick up a guitar or wanted to be in a band, but I had this Metallica poster, and it was I've never seen it really, but I got it at like Spencer's when I was probably 10 or 11.
Yeah.
And it was like this collage cut of like, there's a picture of James at the top, and there's a picture of Kirk, and a picture of Cliff, and a picture of Lars at the bottom, but in the background it's like this massive crowd. And as a kid I would just sit and stare at it like, holy shit, and it just kind of maybe kind of sparked an interest, but I never really had anything that specifically made me want to pick up a guitar, strangely enough. So me and a buddy ended up getting guitars around the same time. I got like some cheap $50 Harmony shit. Right. It was like your typical
first guitar.
We got it at a flea market.
Yeah.
And my parents were like, yeah, okay, good luck. So, and I took about maybe 4 months worth of lessons, and my grades were bad. So then they took it away, but they just kept it in the closet, so I'd go grab it when they weren't looking, and I'd work on stuff. So I'm pretty much self-taught for the most part. I just listen to, back in those days, you listen to cassettes and you just play it back and, rewind it and try to figure out
Try
the
to
part.
play what you're hearing.
That's all I did.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I did it too, man.
Yep.
So I feel you. All right, man. So, as we were saying, we're here in the Central Illinois scene. We're right here in Bloomington right now. There was an all-star list of bands, really, and talent here, like, through the years. And you were a huge part of creating the foundation for bringing sick bands here. So tell me a little bit about that. Like, I know that you set up a couple of the first fests around here, and brought some of the first fucking like out of town bands.
I guess I didn't really, I don't really think about it like that. But I guess, when you say it, I guess that's kind of true.
to me, that's what.
I mean, I guess it makes sense because. So when I joined Deaden, before I was in Deaden, I was in a band with the drummer from Deaden called Carry and Fix. It was more of like a thrash death kind of band.
Yeah.
Then I had Putrefaction, that was kind of grind, drum machine grind stuff
with noise,
with Chris Noise.
Yeah.
And I actually was in Desecration with Ari and Bishop.
Okay.
Bishop took my spot, but Aaron Heath. It was me, Aaron Heath, and Ari. I drew the logo for that.
Switching spots.
Yeah, so it was always this constant revolving door for a little while. There wasn't a whole lot of guys into that extreme stuff here until probably about 93, 94, 95. So once I joined Deaden, we'd been playing some shows. I'd been doing the Carry and Fix stuff, and Putrefaction was starting to do some things. So I really had this mindset of, if we're going to do this, we're not going to fuck around. It was this, I kind of came in and I was like, I'm going to join you guys and that's fine, but we're going to work our asses off.
Yeah.
We're not going to just play Champaign. We're not going to just play Bloomington. We're going to play other states.
Right.
And we're going to swap shows with bands. Because at this point I've been doing the underground mail stuff. So, I'm making these connections. And they're talking about, hey, if you bring us here, we'll bring you there.
Right.
And that's how it worked, man. I mean, we had those the shows at the Channing Murray that were always, all ages. And some of the other guys started doing those first. But once I got involved, I started to book more shows, and we would, because I had the connections of we brought Reputilation out several times from New York. We would work with Internal Bleeding, and we'd swap shows. The Regurgitation guys. I mean, it was just always somebody that was looking to play Sodomized. I mean, we did trade shows with Sodomized. We did all kinds of stuff. And then you had Dave was doing Lividity, so he was doing it on his end too. So then we'd merge shows. It was always the Deaden and Lividity show, and then two other bands that we were bringing in. And then if he brought the bands in, and then Lividity would go out. And they would, play New York or something. Right. And then that weekend that they were doing that, we were playing Pennsylvania or something, because we're just constantly swapping. But it was always this cool rivalry. It's oh, those motherfuckers are going 800 miles away.
Right.
We're gonna go 850. Fuck it. So it was always this oh, I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
We're gonna push it a little bit farther. But then it got to a point to where I don't even really know how the early Central Illinois Metal Fest came about. We started doing these shows at the Knights of Columbus.
Yeah.
And they were just regular shows. We brought Deeds of Flesh and Dying Fetus, and I think we brought Nile up once.
Which these are all huge bands now.
Yeah, now they are.
Right.
And let's be honest, Fetus and Deeds of Flesh, they were always kind of higher tier.
Right.
So Fetus was just always the first minute you heard Bathe and Intros, you're like,
yeah,
these motherfuckers are here. Right. So, but there was just something, I guess I just came up with this idea of, let's see if we can do a fest. And my whole goal was, let's keep it, 15, 16, 17 bands, but let's keep it as affordable as possible.
Right.
I think I'd charge $9 or $10 to get in. It was an all ages thing, because that was the key. Because everybody was young back in those days.
Right.
So it was it didn't do any good for us to be oh, you got to be 21 to get in, because we'd have 50 fucking people.
Right.
But if I could get the 16, 17-year-olds in that were hungry for it, they're hungry for anything to do, then it was, it was much more beneficial.
Right.
So yeah, we and just with those connections that we had in those days, it wasn't like now to where you could set up a show in 5 minutes because you're emailing people and your video whatever and people. It was, you got phone numbers and you got, you know, you're trying to wait 2 weeks for a reply from somebody. Can you do this show, motherfucker?
Right.
Can you answer me? So it's like, it was all about just a necessity of we wanted to play, we wanted to help our friends were going to help us in return. Like we would bring Niall up, Niall would bring us down to South Carolina. And so it was like just this shaking hand thing, and it was just like a helpful scene back in those days. Not that it's not now, but it was just different. It was just a more honest, you know, that if that doesn't sound cheesy or something.
Well, and it was all new to you guys, so fucking, you weren't like trying to compare it to how other people were doing it before you or anything like that. You guys were just doing it and learning as you went. Right.
And the only thing you had to compare it to was Milwaukee.
Right.
And Milwaukee was, that was leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
So, and I think we probably got, for those days at the Knights of Columbus, we were probably getting 400 or 500 people in there, which is pretty fucking great.
No, that's fucking good.
For a small town.
Yeah.
You know, we were a small town. And on a Thursday, we had a club that we'd play called 6 Feet Under, typically on Thursdays, and we'd get 200, 300 people in there. So it was on a weekday. So, that's unheard of now.
Yeah.
Or else you got like real touring bands coming in. Like it's just totally different. But the only reason that I stopped doing the fest was because after the second year, the Knights of Columbus sold.
Oh yeah.
So I lost my venue, and there was no other place that was willing to help me do it, and there was no other place that was big enough. So then a couple years later, I think it was 2002 when Matt started doing it, and I had kind of Deaden had kind of fallen off. We took our break. I was working on my career and stuff. So Bishop picked it up and he started doing it. I didn't even really know he was doing it. He never said anything. Next thing I was like, oh shit, Matt's picking up the torch.
Yeah.
Fucking run with it.
Yeah, so. Matt was doing that, and then like fucking, Shane from Waco was doing the shows out here at Lafayette and shit. So, yeah, super cool, man. Alright, so you got to tour some amazing places with Lividity. This is a two-part question.
Okay.
One, what's one of your most memorable shows? And two, what's one crazy thing that you saw on the road that you're willing to share with us?
Well, life is always crazy with Mr. Dave Kibler at your side, so I'll have to think on that one. I've been very fortunate, with Lividity. I don't take any of it for granted. You could be. We were at a pretty. Several years ago, we were at a pretty good height, and we kind of, took a little hiatus there for a little while, but I think we're still doing pretty good.
Yeah.
I think the most memorable one is going to probably be the first time we played Partisan Fest in Germany.
Yeah.
The reason why it was so huge for us because we weren't like any of the bands on the bill, and nobody really knew who we were.
Right.
Now at that point, that was 2008. And Lividity's been around at that point for, almost 20 years. But nobody really knew who we were. There was a few people that were like, fuck yeah, Lividity, boo. We got up there and we did our thing, and it was totally different than what everything... You had, like, fucking Behemoth was on there,
right.
Hail of Bullets, it might have been Napalm Death was on that one. But it wasn't anything like what we were doing. So we totally stood out. And people were like, wait a minute, and we just got this response that was just, it was like it was refreshing to everybody else because we didn't sound like everybody else. So it was really neat, and we just got a huge response, and it was really, really beneficial for us. That was definitely probably the highlight. The first time we played Columbia was amazing.
Was that Bogota?
Yeah, Bogota. Yeah, we played that twice, and the first time was just, you couldn't even. It was like, dude, when you watch those videos of like Iron Maiden, and this is like ridiculous to compare it, but like when you watch the videos of like Iron Maiden and they got the fucking people that have got their flags and their fucking logos written on it and like from another country, that's how it was.
Yeah.
There were people with fucking like flags from Argentina and it's got fucking Lividity logo and you're like, what the fuck is going on
That's
here?
fucking awesome.
And you're like, is there something we don't know? Because it was insane.
Yeah.
So there's some of those things were really cool, and like I said, I don't take any of it for granted. I'm super appreciative of all of it, and we're that kind of band that even though the show's over, we're gonna sit and hang out with you guys until
Yeah.
everybody fucking leaves, and I mean that's just what we do. So we're super appreciative, and if anybody, it's people say, when are you gonna stop doing this? When people stop fucking asking us.
Exactly.
Because why would you stop?
Right.
So that's how I see it. As far as stories, I don't know that there's things that are incriminating that I'm not gonna say.
We won't share those things, but
So those I'm not gonna share. I mean, there's just funny shit that happens, like fucking Dave will get fucking lost in the middle of nowhere, and like you're like, where the fuck is Dave?
Yeah.
You haven't seen him for 4 hours, and then 30 minutes before the show he shows up and he's like, I don't know where the fuck I was.
Right.
And it's like, okay, but I mean, you just get used to that. But there's no shortage of just funny, stupid shit that happens. I mean, typically we'll land over there overseas somewhere, and those guys have started drinking in the airport. I don't drink or do anything, so I'm pretty boring. There was the one time where we hadn't even been there for 4 hours, and Garrett's already broken his glasses, and he's a mess because he's fucking drunk off his ass and he's wiped himself out. And he's just like, dude, are you even going to be able to play? He's like, we'll see.
It happens.
Exactly. So it's like, it's just, there's a shit ton of those stories where it's just nonstop, just laughter. We focus on those when we get in the practice room, and it's just hilarious. But I mean, it's been a good run with the 4 guys that we have. So been really, really fortunate.
No, it's fucking awesome, man. All right, so now as an artist myself, and I'm not talking about musically, but drawing and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I was stoked to find out that you actually came up with some of my favorite logos. Like you did Deaden, you did the Lividity one before you were even in Lividity.
Yep.
You did Regurgitation's logo from Ohio.
Yep.
Were there any other notable ones that I wasn't thinking of, and you still sit down and draw at certain times?
I don't really do much drawing now. I just don't have the time. I got asked. There was a point where I was going through my old sketchbooks, and I posted a bunch of them on Facebook.
Right.
Well, then people started asking me, and I was like, I don't have a whole lot of time. But Kyle Chrisman from Gorgasm, he was doing that project called Metharoma.
Yes.
So he actually asked me to do a logo for them, which I did. They ended up going with their original logo, but they've still got that one that they might use down the road. So that's the only thing I've done recently, other than projects of my own. The band Reap that I've got, I did the logo for it, which will be getting shown here pretty soon. I did the Desecration logo back in the day. That was probably one of the first ones I did.
The Putrefaction.
I didn't do the Putrefaction one. No. When that one was Chris. Chris had the whole Putrefaction idea before I even knew him.
Okay.
So once we met, we just started talking, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll do it. Let's do it."
Yeah.
We wrote all these little quick grind songs, and he had the logo, and there's like 2 versions of it. There's just the word, and then there's the version where it's got like this little guy in it.
Yeah.
And I like that one better. It's just different.
Right.
I don't know. I did the Avatar logo down in Champaign. I don't know. I can't think of anything else off the top of my head that is really known.
Right.
But I guess those are the 3 most.
No, that's super cool because like they're fucking it's still to this day known logos and stuff. And, know that you came up with them.
And the goal was always to make them different. So like the Deaden doesn't look like the Lividity.
Right.
Nothing looks like the Regurgitation. So I mean, it's like I try to put my own spin on stuff and not make everything look the same.
Yeah.
So yeah, the thing about the Lividity one was Dave had his logo, but he's like, I want you to draw me a logo. And I was like, okay, cool. So I drew the logo, and I had it all done. He's like, but you got to make the T inverted cross. And I was like, well, you didn't tell me that.
Yeah.
And you didn't put 6s in it.
Yeah.
Like I had it in the original. I was like, well, you didn't tell me that either. So then I had to totally redo it. And then we came up with what it is now, and that's what it's been.
You should have told him, man. It's not about saying, it's about pushing.
Exactly, yeah. We didn't know then.
Right.
So.
No, super cool though, man. So you've been involved in a few other bands too, such as Colossus and Between the Killings. You got the fucking hoodie on right now.
Yeah.
What's up with those projects? And was there anything else that you were involved in? Obviously, you've already just told us, but and any chance of any more Deaden?
So to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, there's not going to be any more Deaden.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the Colossus album was actually the new Deaden.
Okay. Yeah. Which that album's fucking phenomenal.
Thank you. It's musically it was the new Deaden. as far as guitar riffs wise. I actually wrote all that guitar stuff when we did Perseverance for Lividity. I was basically writing 2 albums at the same time, and I didn't realize it.
Yeah.
I would write a bunch of songs, and the guys would come over and I'd be like, check this out, and they'd be like, the look on their face would tell me that's not going to be a Lividity song.
Right.
So I was like, okay. So then I started talking to the Deaden guys, and they were interested, but getting them to do anything is kind of pulling teeth. They're kind of separated from this stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
So
it's been a long time.
Right. So the songs that ended up on Colossus, that was going to be all Deaden stuff. But when it wasn't going to work out, I decided I kind of changed some things around guitar-wise. I wanted everything to be different as far as, what the drums were going to be doing, because I didn't want it to sound like it was going to be a Deaden thing. I wanted it to be its own thing at that point. So the bass sounds completely different. I didn't do any vocals on it.
Right.
So I wanted it to be its own entity. And I think that happened. The Between the Killings thing, Braxton hit me up one day just out of the blue. Like, hey, I'd had this idea for a project, and I'd like to know if you'd be interested. Like, yeah, sure, let's try it out. And so so the first EP is done. We're just waiting on the final mix right now.
Right.
It's me, Ian from Severed Head Shop, Braxton obviously on vocals, Joe Gordon from Mortal Decay, and Kyle Chrisman on drums from Gorgasm. Kyle is stepped down, and now we have the drummer Justin from Severed Head Shop as well.
Right.
And Joe, the distance was kind of killing us, so we got Miles Osgood, who used to do the Violin Purity.
Yeah.
So he's doing guitar with us now too.
That's awesome.
So yeah, he's a beast.
Yeah.
So we've started writing the second EP. That project is going to be a series of EPs that's going to tell a story. There's going to be 4 of them, and it's going to have like graphic novel stuff with it as well. So it's going to be kind of different. We wanted it to kind of be set apart. So we got the first one done. The second one is in the works, and we'll start, as soon as we get that one done, we'll start immediately on the third one and try to keep popping these out.
Yeah.
Those will all be coming out through Comatose. Reap is the latest project I've been working on.
Yep.
It's like if you took SOD and made it like a grindcore style band, like grind death, but with SOD elements.
Right.
SOD minded, as far as the lyrical content, as far as the musical ideas. It's not overly thought out. It's very to the point. It's nothing is more than a minute and a half long. Some of it's a 4-second song. It's just fun and angry, and it gets a lot of my frustrations out. So that first album, it's going to be called Born from Plague. That'll be coming out on Self-Made God out of Poland. And then we've actually already written the next album, which we're going to record in about 3 weeks. So as soon as that one gets released, we'll have the follow-up pretty much ready to go. And that's Kyle Chrisman on drums as well, and Jimmy Javins from Necrotic Disgorgement on vocals. So I'm doing all the bass and guitar, but everything else is those 2 guys.
That's awesome.
The only other thing I've got going is I've got probably 6 or 7 songs written for a band called Hellmaker that I want to make, which is going to be kind of like Slayer meets Crisian meets I don't know, it's that kind of like fast thrash kind of vein. So that kind of scratches my itch for like my old love for like thrash and stuff, like Sodom, Crisian, Slayer, that kind of stuff, and it's all gonna be like war based. And I've got some guys that I'm not ready to disclose yet that are in the works for that. So
that's fucking.
But that'll be the next thing.
Yeah,
after all these.
As a grind dude, I'm fucking super stoked on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So to me, you're an amazing guitarist. I know you just said that you were self-taught. I'm also self-taught. I get people that are like, "Oh, dude, you're good at guitar." I'm like, "No, I'm good at goremonger.
Right.
Anything else, I'm not good at." But anyway, to me, you're a really good guitarist, and I mean, you are a huge influence on me, especially what I do with goremonger. What was it like to join forces with a madman like Dave Kibler? And do you stick to a specific guitar or whatever plays best for you?
So, first of all, I really appreciate that because, like I said, I am self-taught for the most part. I mean, I don't know anything about theory. I don't know anything about really anything. I just know what sounds good to me, and that's what I care about. Music, my mindset on music is I have to like it first, and if other people like it, then cool. But it has to be something that I enjoy.
Right.
And then if I'm lucky enough that 50 people down the road like it and they hear it and they're like, fuck yeah, and that's all just icing on the cake for me. So I really appreciate you saying that, and I don't think that anything I do is overly special. I try to just constantly push myself, whether it's doing a simple grind or a Deaden song or a Lividity song or whatever. I just try to keep pushing myself. So working with Dave is an experience.
Yes.
Dave is his hands don't move like normal hands.
Right.
And if you ever watch him live, you're like, how are those fucking notes coming out?
I agree. I know exactly what you're saying.
Dude, it doesn't make any sense. Like, you're watching him play, and it's like his hands are moving 3 times the amount of space and time than they need to.
Right.
And you're like, why? How's it happening? So it's interesting to say the least. Like, when he writes something and he's showing it to me, I'm like, all right, dude. Slow it down and let's fucking figure this out, because I don't know how that shit's coming out. But I think we worked pretty well. The last album, Perseverance, we really had the mindset of we were going to write it all together. It was us sitting in the room, me, Jake, and Dave, and it wasn't me bringing 4 or 5 songs and Dave bringing 3 or 4 songs and Jake bringing 2 or 3 songs. It was, we're all going to sit and somebody might have the original concept, but we're going to write these songs together. And I think that's where Dave and I kind of shine, is we can actually bounce things off of each other that work really well and meld. He's got a really interesting way of how he thinks about things. He's very, you wouldn't think it to know him, but he's very methodical on how he places his riffs. Yeah. And if the riff is going to end in a certain spot, the next part needs to tie in a certain way. And he's got that all mapped out. It's like his own theory. Right. And to me, I don't think that way. So it's like, but I know his formula now. So it's like I can pick up on what he's talking about. But it's like, okay, this one's going to end when we get to this 4th version of this. It's going to end a certain way because this next riff has got to come in, and it's in his way of thinking, it's got to make sense to.
It's got to play off of it.
Right. Yeah. So it's really neat, and that's just not something that I really do. But I mean, he's just a fucking beast, and he's. I don't know. It's just cool when we get in that room and we're all just hashing shit out. Yeah. It makes me really appreciate it.
It's like he's like, suck my dick, you fucking. And it's like, suck my dick, you fucking cut right now, like right afterwards. Like, okay, it's kind of like the same thing. But,
Yeah, exactly.
No,
exactly.
That's cool.
Yep. He's definitely got things mapped out in a certain way that I don't work. Yeah. And it's neat to see how he does it sometimes.
So your guitar style, what guitar?
So I've got a bit of an addiction with guitars. So I'll probably have usually 25 guitars at a time, but I'll constantly be trading and upgrading and doing things. I've really gotten the bug for these fucking headless guitars and these.
Oh, you like those?
I don't know why.
Yeah.
Like, I fucking hate looking at pictures of them playing live, but they play fucking amazing. Like these Strainbergs, like I don't like spending that much money on them, but they damn near play themselves. Yeah.
I was talking to the dudes from I think Party Cannon when they played CDF, and I said something about the headless stock, and he was like, "Yeah, bro." He goes, "But you got to understand how much better this is to travel with too."
Oh,
and I was like, "Man, that's a fucking advantage right there."
Absolutely. Yeah, you're taking a super giant case, and you can shrink that motherfucker down. Or you can take a gig bag, and they'll let you take it on the plane. Or whatever you got to do. It's way easier. And they stay in tune amazingly well. Like, I've got one of them that literally I took out of the case. I played at FTA the first time we played when we were a secret band. Yeah. I hadn't taken the guitar out of the case since then. I took it out probably about a month ago. It was still in tune. So they stay in tune phenomenally well. I don't know what it is about maybe the tension of the
They're just made for that.
But they stay in tune great. I'm still partial to Ibanez. I've got my old Red S that I played everywhere. Yeah. It's just kind of beat up, and it's like, it's now like I'll never get rid of that one.
I love that guitar. Like
Yeah.
that. I got a Washburn, but it's the same fucking body style.
Yeah.
And when I bought it, that was I was like, man, this is like Vaughn's fucking Ibanez, and with the fucking thin body shape, which was cool for my gut. You know?
Right. It's super ergonomic and comfortable.
Yeah.
Like I don't like these big ass heavy guitars that I got shoulder problems.
Yeah,
so it's
yeah.
like, and you're doing all that moving up on stage and shit. So by the time you're done, you're like,
Yeah.
fuck, did I just fight somebody or did I play a show? But you know, it's that Red S is always going to hold a place in my heart. So I'm never going to get rid of it.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's going to see a show. I tried to use it on the BTK recording. It just wasn't cutting the mustard.
Right.
But I've got several Ibanez's that I still used for recording. But it's I've got a handful of those headless deals, and I've got different brands. I got some cheap Chinese ones that still play fucking great.
Hell yeah.
And then I've actually got one that's on the way soon. It's an Ibanez headless that they just came out with. So hopefully that'll be here in June. But yeah, for the most part, I'm still playing Ibanez.
Yeah.
And for the most part, I'm still going to take headstock guitars on
Right.
to shows. So
That's what's up.
I'm just not a Floyd guy. You're not going to see me playing a Floyd. So
I'm the same way, and I had a Jackson Kelly for a while, and I got a really good deal on it, and it played really well, but I fucking hated it. Like, I don't like how it feels, and I just, general Strat body is, like, good for me.
Yep.
And it might be boring, but, man.
like sometimes I feel I get the inner kid in me wants a Rhodes V so bad, but I don't want to fucking sit. I'm not gonna play that sitting down, and it's like whatever, dude. I've given up on that dream.
Right.
But
Hell yeah. All right, man. So you ran a label called Epitomite.
Yep.
Am I saying that right?
yeah, Epitomite Production.
I always thought so, but I was just like,
So-
Epitomite?
Yeah, so the that was like a play on words to me. It was like I wanted it to be the epitome of something.
Right.
And I was like, if you took a person and you made them the equivalent of the epitome of something, that'd be the epitomite.
There we go.
It's fucking
So
stupid.
that's how that was
but
made.
that's how I made it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, Epitomite was dope, though, and you actually helped me build FTA, Fuck the S Records, into what it was as far as my distro was concerned. That was fucking huge to me. I used to be amazed, like, you were like one of the first people that I knew personally. You would show up to shows and you used to have all them fucking wooden cases, and you would fucking just start setting up. I remember being Clay, like, we were young back then.
Yeah.
And we're just like, dude, that's the fucking shit. And I always had the idea that I wanted to do the distro and label more, you know. So
Yeah.
I saw that and I was just like, fucking yeah, that's what I want to do. So that was fucking really cool to me. I know that you're also a collector of CDs. Like, you have a very big fucking music collection. You still buy physicals and stuff. What do you think of the current digital and physical releasing situations as far as like music? Do you find advantages to both? Do you find disadvantages to one now, or what do you think about that?
So, I mean, that's hard, man, because I used to hate the whole digital idea, but now in my phone I've got probably 2,000 albums.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna bitch about it anymore.
At the
because
palm of
it's
your hand.
At the palm of my hand, and I'm like, and if I don't have it, all I gotta do is say, "Oh, I want to listen to this album," or
you can
check it
find
out,
it.
and I can find it.
Yeah.
I still have to go buy physical stuff, but I'm gonna mostly buy vinyl now.
Yeah.
So I'm working on my vinyl collection.
Because you're a hipster.
Yeah, exactly, absolutely, super hip, trying to get Suffocation vinyl and
Hell
stuff.
yeah.
So, but you know, I'm gonna be retiring pretty soon. I got like 4 years as my goal of retiring, and I'm planning on moving to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan.
Oh, wow.
I'm gonna live like super remote, like cabin life, like subsistence living. I'm not gonna have room for all these CDs and shit.
Right.
So I'm gonna actually start selling all that stuff off, and I started selling off a bunch of demos, and that was like me starting that process and like ripping that wound open. And it was kind of painful at first. I was like, I was like, fuck, I'm getting rid of like some shit that I cherish.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's at the palm of my hand.
Yeah.
So I don't need these anymore. And to be honest, like the demos, cassettes, I haven't listened to them in 20 years.
Yeah.
You know, because I don't have a working cassette deck. So what good is it doing me other than say, oh, I've got this really cool, you know, thing from '96. You know, so
It's
what?
funny, like, I've got the, you know, we were talking about the Dying Fetus Babe and Intros. I got that and the Infatuation with the Lead Ones demos.
Yeah.
That I got from Gallagher. $3 each.
Yeah.
You know, autograph. Like, I've got his autograph. And I've had people offer me $500 for that Bathing Entrails. And I just won't sell it because I'm a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
But it's funny because it's the same way. I haven't fucking listened to it forever. The tapes probably fucking warped it.
Right.
But the sentimental value for something like that, like all the times I listen to that album with so many different homies and shit, like
absolutely,
it's hard.
Absolutely.
But it seems stupid.
And that was the mental thing that I had to get over. It's like I've got this super. I'm holding on to this super sentimental value of something that I haven't even looked at in 15 years. I know it's there, but I haven't even looked at it, you know? And somebody's offering me money for it. I'd be stupid not to take it.
Yeah.
So, and I got to get rid of it anyway because I'm going to go from 3,600 square feet to 800.
Right.
You know? So at some point, I'm going to have to get rid of all that shit.
Yeah.
You know, and all these posters that I've got of shows and things like that. What am I going to do with all that stuff?
Right.
So, not that I'm going to, like, go be a hermit and like not listen to metal anymore. I'm going to. I'm still going to write stuff and do whatever. And it's not, you know, hopefully going to affect all the bands very much. But that's the next phase of my life, and that's what I want to do. So I have to kind of live according. I got, you know, I'm looking at your DVD collection.
Yeah.
I'm the same way, dude. I got all these fucking DVDs.
They're pointless.
And it's like, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna keep those. Because when I get 12 feet of snow up there, I'm gonna need something to do.
Right.
Because after I get done fucking, I'm gonna need something to do. Right. So I was like, that 5 minutes is over, and I gotta watch a 2-hour movie, and then hopefully get some energy to do that. But so I mean, I can't get rid of all that stuff, but the CDs I don't need because they're just gonna be in my phone. Yeah. You know, and it's a hard thing. It's a hard mental thing to get past because I think as humans, especially in like the genre that we're into, and I think it's, you know, you take anybody outside of like the pop genre and the major mainstream genres, this stuff is very special to us. Yeah. Because we're a very small minority of people that get into this and understand it, and that's why we don't do very well with people that are just fly by night seeing people, and people that are, you know, somebody was saying, not to go on like a crazy tangent, but I was watching this thing, this video where they were talking about how like these major pop stars and like the Kardashians or whatever are wearing like major metal band shirts.
Right, Morbid Angel.
Right, and I'm like, that pisses me off.
Yeah.
These guys are like, all these bands are like, oh no, I think it's really cool. Yeah, because you want those people to wear your shirt. Yeah. So it bumps you up. Yeah. I don't fucking care about that. That pisses me off because those were the people when I was in 9th grade that were making fun of me. Right. Because I was wearing the shit that I was at, and I knew who I was at that point, and I was into that, and they were making fun of me, so fuck them. Yeah. They don't deserve to wear those kind of fucking things. And I'm sorry if that's old and crotchety or whatever the fuck it is, but fuck them. Yeah. You gotta earn that. You can't just wear some shirt because you think it's cool. Yeah. And then when I go ask you to, you know, well, name a fucking song, dickhead, you're like, okay, cool, take that fucking shirt off. Because this isn't the flavor of the week kind of thing. Yeah. And that's the kind of shit that pisses me off. So, like I said, I went off on a tangent. I don't even know where I was going with that. I totally went off the rails, and I don't even know where I was going with that. Yeah. No. So, but, yeah. I
mean, that's the thing about metal, though, is like, all-inclusive, anybody can be involved, but you also don't want somebody that's just a complete poser. Right. You know what I'm saying?
It's special to us. Yeah. So treat it as such. Yeah. You know, and be respectful and you can dislike something, and that's fine, but you don't need to. It's not about. The problem with the scene nowadays is everybody wants to throw their 2 cents in on what they feel and think about everything. Right. I don't give 2 fucks what you think about anything. You like it or you don't. Move on to the next thing. Right. I don't need you to break somebody's shit down, because you know what? They worked hard for that, to get to that point, to go do that. And it may not be the recording that they want, or it may not be the song structure they want, but guess what? They're going to work towards that on the next album. Yeah. And they're going to keep bettering themselves, and they're going to get eventually to where they want. So for you to sit there and break them down and to talk shit about them when you don't do anything yourself, right? Fuck off. Yeah. That's just how I roll.
Yeah, put some action to your words.
I'm not a big person on breaking people down. I'd rather let's build this scene up because we got enough problems as it is, with everybody making sure we're getting along. So just fucking let people do what they do.
Hell yeah.
That's my thoughts.
Alright, so here's a question I love to ask. 5 Desert Island albums. What are 5 albums you just could not live without?
So I'm just gonna go death metal because that's one of those where I listen to so much different shit. And I literally, if I go back to where, I'm a kid listening to what my parents' influences were on me, it's like James Taylor and Neil Diamond and shit. I'll fucking take those.
Right.
Depending on what day you ask me.
Right,
I'm taking Michael Jackson Thriller.
Yeah.
But on death metal day, I'm taking, I'm gonna take probably Death Human. Definitely Suffocation, Piercing Within. Fuck. Mortal Decay, Sickening Erotic Fanaticism. I should probably take Bathing Intros.
Yeah.
Bathing Intros is like the epitome for me. It was probably... I would probably take Purification Through Violence, actually, but Bathing Intros would be on there. Maybe Disincarnate Dreams of the Carrion Kind.
It's such a good album.
Yeah, that's like...
Yeah.
It's like people know it's a good album, but I feel like it gets forgotten.
Yeah.
And so, I hit James Murphy up, every year, and I'm like, dude, just to let you know, just in case you don't feel like it's the fucking greatest.
Yeah.
So, and maybe if I had, a 6, one of my favorite is Resurrection, Embalmed Existence.
Oh, nice, yeah.
So, that was 5 or 6.
Yeah.
But that's the death metal version. There would definitely be a thrash metal version. Stormtroopers of Death, Speak English or Die is my absolute favorite album of all time.
Nice, hell yeah.
That would be if I was doing the thrash era, it would be that, Rain and Blood, Ride the Lightning, Persecution Mania, and maybe something else.
Yeah.
But it would go for each genre. I would have a whole different, some days I'm mellow and I want to listen to just Tori Amos.
Right.
So,
Sure. No, that's what's up, man. Alright, so question number 10. We made it to the end, which is good.
Nice.
What's new for Lividity? Now, I know y'all got some shows booked up. Y'all are doing the Cannibal Cookout this year, which is cool.
Yep.
Squatches show, we jammed that last year. Well, I did. Are y'all working on new material for Lividity? The last album, Perseverance, that fucking CD was so fucking huge. It was one of my tops of the year. I think that and Flesh Order came out that year together or whatnot. And those were my 2 tops. So what's new with Lividity? What are you guys doing?
So we are trying to get this post-COVID deal going. We're not worrying about Europe right now. We're kind of staying close to home. We're doing some things in the States only, and I think we just booked something maybe from Mexico.
Oh, okay.
For October, I think it is. But we're doing probably 8 or 9 shows. It's really difficult for us to do a lot unless we're planning a tour because we all live so far away from each other. Garrett's in Chicago, I'm in Champaign, Dave's in Peoria, and Jake's in Decatur. So just for us to get together for a practice is a pain in the ass sometimes.
And I just want to put it out there for our listeners real fast, and anybody listening to the Waco interview with Kevin too. Both these bands, their biggest problem is the fucking drummer. Your guys' drummer's in Chicago up north. Their drummer's in fucking Virginia.
Right.
That's how fucking tough it is in this area to find a fucking good, consistent drummer to play brutal death metal. So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there. But.
And it's that, but we've known Garrett since the Corpse Vomit days.
Yeah, and I yell "Come Christ" to him every time I see him because "Come Christ" the album is one of my favorites of all time.
Absolutely. But it's we knew the caliber of guy we were getting when we asked him to join. So it was with Jesse, those guys know what they're doing. He's fucking phenomenal. So we played a bunch of shows with him, and it's you just sit back and you're like, God damn. So so we're doing probably 8 or 9 shows. I think we're doing Montana, of all places. We're doing Denver. We're doing Fort Wayne. A couple shows in Chicago. We do Squatch's show next month. Basically next month.
Basically, yeah.
The Mexico thing, I think we're going to do something in Texas maybe, in Houston. So that's all getting worked out. But I think that's really about all we're doing. And then there's some talks about maybe doing some things, overseas and maybe down, South America again for 2023. We have... Realistically, we probably have 6 to 8 songs written.
Oh, wow.
we were just kind of hit and miss with the COVID stuff, and obviously I wasn't staying. I was keeping busy.
Yeah.
I was working on 14 different projects.
Right.
So.
Plus, in your profession, during COVID, you were still at work.
Right.
So you weren't off doing nothing at home. So.
Right. So I was working and then going home and working on songs. I was trying to get those guys. To be honest, I was trying to get them a little bit more minded on let's work on some new stuff. So we finally got to that point. We did. But focusing on doing some shows is also the plan. The plan is, hopefully I'm not putting anything too crazy out there, but this is the anniversary for 25 years for Fetish.
Oh, yeah.
So the goal is for these shows this year, it'll be the entire Fetish album.
Oh, wow.
So that's what we're working on right now. We'll do the whole Fetish album and probably like another 10 to 15 songs. So it'll be like an hour and 20 minutes worth of shit. Because Dave doesn't appreciate that I need a voice after. I say, hey, can we play like fucking 16 songs? No, fuck that. We need to play forever.
Yeah.
Cool. I just don't need to talk for 4 days after that. That's cool. Whatever. So yeah, we've got a bank of new material written. I don't see it getting recorded anytime soon because I think the train is starting to pick up again for live shows.
Right.
So, and that's fine.
But that's cool though. You guys got a fucking
a
foundation. Though.
Exactly. So the next thing, and we're even playing on the twist of what the title would be, but I don't know if we're set on that yet. So I'll keep that kind of hush hush. But I think we might actually be stealing it from a friend because he came up with it, and I was like,
right.
So that's coming with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think give it probably 2 years realistically. We'll probably hit the studio.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably the realistic goal.
Yeah, that's what's up there.
So, but that's fine. We're going off other stuff. And,
yeah, no need to rush it or whatever.
Yep. So, yeah.
But hell yeah, man. So, thank you for coming in, fucking hanging out at my fucking house and talking with me.
Absolutely.
Doing the interview for Murder Metal Mayhem. Any last words you want to say? Anything?
Appreciate everybody's support. For everything that I do. And if you don't like my shit, that's cool too. It's whatever. Like I said, just move on to the next thing and find whatever grabs you. I'm really not. I'm pretty laid back. I'm not that guy. I'm not going to get butthurt if you don't like what I do. So I appreciate everybody's support though that for all the projects, whether it's Lividity or whether it's the old Deaden stuff or whether it's something new that I got coming out. So, and if you're interested in it, just hit me up on the Facebook thing or whatever. That's all I really do, and I barely do that. But just hit me up on it, and I'll push it out your way. And if you like it, you like it. We'll keep on going. I'm getting old, but I'm gonna keep on doing it.
That's what's up.
So fuck it.
Oh yeah, thank you very much, Vaughn. I appreciate it, man.
Fuck yeah.
Mother, man.